All right, on to the next, which is frustration-induced criminality. This one's rather short, I believe. Okay. We're going to talk a lot more about this in Chapter 5, but frustration is an aversive internal state, and it basically happens when we are blocked from obtaining our goal. So we have to have some goal for obtaining whatever behavior or whatever it might be, and blocking you from reaching that goal is what creates frustration. If we have this a lot and intensely, it can lead to increased arousal and perhaps and hopefully increased activity to reduce it, like jogging, meditating, doing yoga, whatever that might be. One thing that is interesting to think of, but makes sense after you think about it, is that violent behavior to reduce frustration is actually reinforced. So let's say you, someone is making fun of you, and we'll just put ourselves at a bar, then we've been drinking, so we're not quite in our best mindset. And they're making fun of you and they're really pushing your buttons. You punch this person to get them to stop, and they stop. So you're using violent behavior, punching someone, to reduce the frustration. So your goal that is being blocked is having a nice time at the bar without being made fun of. You're frustrated because they are creating this aversive internal state. They're calling you names, won't leave you alone. You punch them, it stops. So how is this reinforced? You punch someone and they stop making fun of you. So violent behavior is actually reducing the frustration, and it is reinforced by getting something good out of it. You might feel good from doing it, at least in the short run, and the making fun of stops. So it's actually reinforced. So a man making fun of you, frustration, you punching that person is the behavior, and then making fun of behavior stops. We are reinforcing for violence. So we have two main criminal personalities here. We have the socialized offender, who is a product of learning, conditioning, and modeling. We're learning to expect rewards, and we're doing the behaviors that we get, the rewards that we want. Then there's the individual offender. This person isn't necessarily doing it to get those rewards, but they are frustrated, they have their unmet needs, and it's not some kind of short and fleeting thing. It's something that happens a lot and it's intense. So they're frustrated. They have a high expectancy of meeting a goal, and so they are frustrated when they don't meet it, and then they use that, let's say, punching the man, to help reduce their frustrations. So they have a high expectancy of meeting a goal, so then they feel hopeless and no control, and then they offend to kind of gain back that control. Versus a socialized offender who's doing it just simply to get rewards. Let's go ahead and stop and watch video 4. So frustration-induced riots can help explain some of the behaviors that we see after these kind of large events that have taken place, either natural disasters or kind of political things that happen, like the Rodney King riots. They have goals that are blocked, and they are frustrated, and then they finally find an opportunity. So they take advantage of the unrest from the riots or from a hurricane, and they take advantage of it because their goals are blocked. So go ahead and watch one of the two riot videos, either one. Or both. All right, I usually stop here, but this next one is going to be longer, so I'm just going to keep going. So we're going to talk about situational instigators and regulators of criminal behavior. You might not know this about me, but I am a huge Star Wars fan, but there's not always ways to get in pictures, so this is one of the ones in this class. A lot of what we've looked at so far in this course are really not considering what's going on in the particular situation. So we've got other things going on, and sure, we have biological aspects, we've got our upbringing, learning, sure, but what about that situation in particular? What if it's a unique situation you've never been in before, and you can't really adequately judge what you would do in that particular situation until you're in it? That is what we're going to be talking about with some of our main experiments that we'll be looking at in the rest of this chapter. So, as to go with this picture here, criminality in many cases may simply reflect being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. And this is something that hopefully will set in as we look at more of these examples. So if someone cuts you off on your way to school, so you're driving, and someone cuts in front of your car, why might you say they're doing that? Oftentimes, you might think or say it's because of they're just an a-hole, or we'll do one of the stereotypes. It's a woman driver, an Asian driver, old driver, who knows, but it's because of how they are, is often what we would say. Now let's contrast this with maybe they're late for work and so they're in a rush. So one is more about how they are, the other is more because of the situation that they're in, because they're late for work. All right, so let's expand on that and talk about the fundamental attribution error. Let's pay close attention to this one because this can also be a little bit confusing. So when explaining someone else's behavior, we tend to overestimate things having to do with their disposition. So it's just how they are, because they're a woman, whatever, because they're a man. And we're underestimating the situation. So again, going back to the car, we think it's because she's a woman driver and not because she's late to work. And if she's late one more time, she's going to get fired. And she has 5 children, she's a single mother, and she cannot afford to lose her job. So we're not thinking about the situational factors. That's not what comes to mind first. So we assume that people are the way that they behave. So if you're behaving like a jerk, you are a jerk, and we are not considering or we're discounting how that situation has impacted that person's behavior. All right, go ahead and read this one, see if it makes sense to you. Pause it right now. Okay? All right, now, in contrast to that, if you cut someone off on your way to school, are you likely to think, well, I did it because I'm a woman? No, probably not, right? Your probably first instinct is to explain it with the situation that you're in. I am so late for school and there's an exam, and if I'm late, then I don't get to take it and I'll fail my class. So you are jumping right into the situation. This is called the self-serving bias. So we have a tendency to, or well, not exactly called the self-serving bias. I'll explain it in a second. So we attribute good things about ourselves to our disposition and bad things to the situation. Though I haven't, there we go. And bad things to external factors. So if it's something good, that's just how I am. But if it's something bad, it's not my fault, it's the situation. So from Peanuts, why are you always so anxious to criticize me? I just think I have a knack for seeing other people's faults. What about your own faults? I have a knack for overlooking them. So she is showing her self-serving bias. She overlooks her bad things, perhaps links them to external factors, but is quite able to find them in other people's, which is that fundamental attribution error. So consider this for a moment. Does the situation outside of you, the institution perhaps, come to control your behavior? Or do things inside of you, your attitudes, values, and morality, allow you to rise above that negative environment? We'll think about this more specifically with a few examples. Now we're going to start to get into how authority can start or instigate criminal behavior. First, we're going to start with Milgram's obedience studies. And he was very interested in how far people would go in the name of following authority. He was particularly influenced by Nazi Germany, and in the trials of the Nazis afterwards, many said they were just following orders. They were just following orders to explain what they did during that time. And so he wanted to know, was it something unique to the Nazis, or is it possible that good people could do very bad things when following someone else's orders? So this is where we're going to start talking about the Milgram experiment. This is the flyer, and it was advertised to people in the community as a study for memory, $4, which was very good around that time. And it talked about the types of people they wanted from the community between the ages of 20 to 50 and not students. Actually, I'll stop here.